he gets out and starts shooting at us. My husband saw him start shooting at us, and we got onto the median. We saw him coming closer, and like I was looking in the mirror, looking back, and I could see him like loading up a gun, and it looked like a long black gun that I saw. And I told my husband, he's coming like closer, like we need to get off the like interstate. So my husband got back on the right side of the median, and we got off and we turned back on the service road coming back to Midland. And he shot at us again when he passed us. And thankfully he didn't hit us or anything.
This is Up. I'm Allison Morris in for David Gura. And today, residents of Odessa, Texas, still reeling from yesterday's mass shooting that killed 5 people and injured 21. One of the eyewitnesses to that shooting was Shauna Saxton, who barely missed being struck by the shooter. We reached out to her this morning, and she has been gracious enough to join us now. Shauna, the first question, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm pretty much a hot mess.
With good reason.
It's emotional.
If you can, and I know this is probably a difficult thing to do because it just happened, could you just run us through what you experienced yesterday?
Yeah, I was out for a little, running a little errand with my husband and my grandson, and we were stopped at a light, and as the light turned green, there were 2 cars in front of me, and we started to roll forward, and we heard 3 what turned out to be shots. They were sounds and they didn't make sense, but I asked my husband if the car in front of us had maybe backfired or something. They were just odd, out of place. And then I looked over to my left. I was driving, and the man, he was in the gold sedan at the time.
Okay.
And I looked over my shoulder, and he was there, and he was pointing his gun at our vehicle at my window, and I mean, he was so close to me, I could see him.
Yeah.
So, I freaked out, obviously. I told my husband, I'm like, there's a gun. He's got a gun. And then it set in what those sounds were. And we were the last car, so I'm sure those first set of whatever happened were aimed at us. And then I just started honking just like crazy, and I was swerving to one side just to get around the 2 cars that were in front of us. And I think my honking, I don't know, maybe startled the person in front of me. And she moved a little bit to the right, and I shot through the gap between those 2 cars. And right as I did that, there were 3 more shots fired. And I believe they were fired at us. So nothing hit, though. There was no purchase. But he had just come off I-20. And I believe he was running, obviously, from the situation that he had just had with the officer on I-20, because it was just right at that time. But we didn't know about that, and we thought it was just a road rage thing, because as I accelerated between the 2 cars, he followed me, and he was pulling up again to the side of the back panel of my car. And when I saw him in the mirror, I just was speeding. I was driving extremely fast away from him, and my only thought was I had to get away from him. But I thought it was just a road rage. I didn't understand the situation at the time. So we drove down, and I was looking for any way to get away from that man and that car, and I turned into I came to another stoplight, but I was not going to stop at the stoplight, so I turned into a neighborhood that I knew would get me back. It wouldn't dead end, and it would get me away from him again, because I thought he was just road raging.
Shauna, did you see any police as you were driving on the road? I know it was all happening so quickly, but did you see officers hear any sirens while you were, trying to get through those 2 cars ahead of you?
No, it wasn't until we had gone through the light, up and over a bridge, down the other side, and then we did see a policeman who was traveling southbound, the opposite direction from us, and he was traveling, his lights were on, and I believe that he was responding to the officer that had been hurt on I-20. I don't know that for a fact, but he was going the opposite direction. So this guy was running from the scene, and the one officer was going the opposite direction to probably go help his fallen comrade. But I have to tell you, this guy was crazy. His face was not right.
Yeah.
His eyes were not right.
Shauna, I know you've said today that you feel like a hot mess. I know you described yourself as just speeding and honking yesterday, but it sounds like you showed incredible composure and quick thinking when that was happening. Many of our viewers have never experienced something that traumatic. Can you describe for a moment what it feels like when you realize that you're in that kind of danger, and sort of what takes over? Is it adrenaline? Sort of what happened to you at that moment?
You know what, for me, that fight or flight thing, that they talk about in psychology. In situations where I feel like I'm threatened, I suppose I have extreme clarity. Okay. I mean, my mind, I was yelling, there's a gun, I got to get out of here. I was honking, I was swerving, just trying not to be the target. I knew what I had to do in that moment. And then after I got home, after I was safe and after my grandson was away from him, then I broke down, and reliving it in my mind and seeing that person aiming something. I was a target. I was his target for that moment.
Right.
And I lived. I survived it. And there's so many who did.
Shauna, I know you said you had your grandson in the car. How old is your grandson?
He's 2.
Was he aware? Did he understand what was going on? I'm sure he was thinking, wow, look at Grandma go.
I don't know. I mean, clearly he probably felt that there was something wrong, but he was just very calm in the seat. Yeah. He sat there very quietly. He stopped babbling, and my husband kept looking and checking on him because we were just so worried that the first shots had come from behind, and we didn't know. Right. And then from the side, and then we're just like, did he hit us? What happened? I mean, it was crazy, and really my thoughts were all about not me getting away, but me getting my grandson away from that man. I was terrified.
Well,
I was terrified.
Shauna, it sounded like while you were terrified, you had some very, very, very clear thinking, and I bet your grandson experienced some of that sense of calm coming from you. If not thinking, wow, what is Grandma doing driving that fast? I'm not used to that. But, I know it's a really tough thing to talk about this today, and I just can't thank you enough for spending some time to share your experience with us, and we're so glad that you're all right.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very lucky today.
You are indeed. Shauna Saxton, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.